let's talk about Madam Adom-Otchere and the Electoral Commission. We are completely worried tonight about the way in which things are panning out at the Electoral Commission. So we campaigned for a female Electoral Commissioner. Maybe our campaign was not what changed the event or made the event. Maybe she had her own contacts. Maybe she was supremely qualified. We think that she was qualified for the job nonetheless. But she gets the job, and one confrontation onto another, one sort of calamity onto another. The latest one was about rebranding of the Electoral Commission, and we were told that there's a new logo of the Electoral Commission now. The Deputy Electoral Commissioner, Mr. Seidu, says there's no new logo. Then eventually we find that there is a new logo, and today she actually launched a new logo, and she titled it rebranding. But the job of the Electoral Commissioner, really, it's not about rebranding. Spending money on rebranding is not the way that the Electoral Commissioner should be going. We think that Madam is getting it desperately wrong, and on your screen is the so-called new logo. You know, well, apparently it's from some other, there's another organization that has it, but that's not even our concern tonight. Our concern tonight is the focus of the Electoral Commission. What is she focusing on? Why is she focusing on rebranding? What is the meaning of rebranding? What is she rebranding? The purpose of the Electoral Commission is to deliver free, fair, credible elections. What is she rebranding for? Is she Unilever? Is the Electoral Commission now Guinness Ghana Limited? Are they Auto Plaza? Are they Metro TV or Multimedia? What are they rebranding for? The purpose of this organization is a state organization that is to have a clear focus to deliver free, fair, and credible elections, because elections can tip over the country from a peaceful country onto a war zone. We saw what happened in La Côte d'Ivoire over elections. We've seen what happened in Kenya over elections. Fortunately for Ghana, we have had an easy ride over elections, good elections. The purpose of Electoral Commission is to be able to hold the country together in the events as Dr. Afari-Gyan did. I will show you some of those videos of the year 2000, the year 2008, having a very important call to put the nation together, calling elections in a manner that puts the nation together. It's not a joke. It's not rebranding. That's not what it is. Madam Adom-Otchere is disappointing us. Rebranding should be the last thing on her mind. But really, what are you rebranding? What are you rebranding about Electoral Commission? Now, this is one of the most credible electoral commissions in Africa as far as we are concerned. Indeed, one of the most credible electoral commissions in the world. They have delivered free and fair elections, 1996, etc., etc. And in the process of rebranding, Madam Adom-Otchere demonstrates a clear misunderstanding of the National Coat of Arms. That's sad. That is embarrassing. She says that she's taking the coat of arms out of the Electoral Commission logo because they want to demonstrate the independence of the Electoral Commission. And I was exceptionally proud of Dr. Jampo of the Political Science Department when she actually gave Madam Adom-Otchere a lecture this evening on radio about the difference between state and government. Our Electoral Commissioner does not seem to appreciate the application of the coat of arms. She says that the coat of arms represents government, and therefore she's taking it out of the Electoral Commission's logo. The Electoral Commission is a state institution. The military is a state institution. So the military uses and applies the coat of arms. The Electoral Commission should apply the coat of arms. The coat of arms does not belong to government. So here is the difference. If tomorrow the NDC government loses election, Finance Minister Setekpe will be gone because he is with the government. My good friend Kofi Boa Petroleum will be gone because he's with the government. But the Chief Justice will not be gone. She's a state official representing the judiciary. The military high command will not be gone. They will be there. The new government will come and meet them and will work with them. She, Madam Adom-Otchere, will be there. Afari-Gyan was appointed by Flight Lieutenant Rawlings. Mr. Rawlings tenure came and finished. He was there. Professor Mills came in. He left. He's there. John Mahama has come in and he's retired because his retirement age has come up. But Dr. Afari-Gyan has outlived government because the Electoral Commission is a state institution. And perhaps he may have to return the coat of arms to the Electoral Commission because it's a state institution. What was sad about the application of the coat of arms that was completely lost on the Electoral Commissioner. And in this rebranding purpose, so she gets all of these things wrong. That is sad. It's very, very sad because we're going to take your minds back tonight to see the kinds of position and situation that the Electoral Commissioner can find himself or herself in. If you don't have an Electoral Commissioner with the kind of focus that Dr. Afari-Gyan had, and you have an Electoral Commissioner whose mind is wandering over rebranding, we could have a nation that's tipping off. Rebranding. We are not Guinness Ghana Limited. Electoral Commission is not Unilever. Electoral Commission is the Electoral Commission of Ghana that has a single most important mandate to deliver free, fair, and credible elections. What are you doing with rebranding and logos? I mean, that's the worst part you can get. It's so embarrassing. The Electoral Commissioner is doing logos. When we have a crucial election on November 7th, and we need an Electoral Commissioner that's clearly focused to be able to deliver the elections free, fair, and credible, to continue to hold our nation together. Now, madam, you have inherited an institution that has a lot of credibility, and there was no rebranding. When Dr. Afari-Gyan took over from Justice Ofori-Boateng, he didn't rebrand. He went straight forward to reform. He changed opaque boxes to transparent ballot boxes. He moved to photo ID card. He moved to verification of voters. That's credible. That's how you run elections. Let's have a clear focus from you. I'm sorry, but as soon as you are appointed as Electoral Commissioner, you belong to all of us. Because whatever decision you take can affect all of us, can affect the nation. Ivory Coast, see what happened. Electoral Commission's decisions. Kenya, see what happened. The Electoral Commissioner came and announced results. And after that, many people were killed. So you are our property. You can't go about your business as if you are the chief executive of Unilever or Guinness Ghana Limited. Rebranding for what? Let's see these videos to see how the focus of Electoral Commission can be so critical in the tipping point of the nation. So when you have an Electoral Commissioner who is not focused on delivering free, credible elections and is thinking about rebranding, you ought to be worried the way we are worried tonight. Here is Dr. Afari-Gyan in 2008. See this.
We have collected results from 229 out of the 280 constituencies. And the results are as follows. Nana Adom-Otchere Akufo-Addo, 4478411. 4478411. This represents 49.87% of the total voting cast. John E. Ababens, 4501466, representing 50.13% of the total voting cast. Thank you very much.
You've seen the video, Dr. Afari-Gyan, and you saw the closeness of the numbers. Now, we'll take you to the video that was shot outside the Electoral Commission minutes before Afari-Gyan gave those results. Now, here's a critical intervention that must be delivered by the Electoral Commissioner with a clear focus and confidence in himself, his ability, and the process that he or she, at the time of declaring the presidential elections, has the confidence that this process has been fair, this process has been free, and this process has been credible. So that when candidates lose the election even by 1,000 votes, they know that this election was lost. And I will continue the videos with an interview that Nana Akufo-Addo granted us just after the 2008 elections, where he was accepting that in spite of the fact that it was a 40,000 between he and Professor Mills, he was accepting that the process was credible. That's the kind of Electoral Commission we need, not rebranding Ideal Milk and Milo. And what's that? What's rebranding at this time? Rebranding. When there's confusion about the voters register, you have to tell us about the exhibition. You set up a committee to advise you. Some members of Let My Vote Count say the committee said X. You said they said Y. The committee said they said W. Confusion all over the place. You hold an event and you are telling us new logos. Spending the taxpayers' money on new logos. When your core responsibility, and this is a responsibility as you have inherited, is to deliver free, fair, and credible election. So here is a report from a foreign television station about that tipping point moment of 2008. Let's see.
While votes counted from 229 of the 230 constituencies, John Atta Mills of the opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, held a slender lead with 50.13% of the votes, while Nana Akufo-Addo of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, had 49.87%. Only 23,050 votes separated the two. This made the race too close to call in the absence of Tain, which has around 53,000 registered electors, and where voting did not take place in Sunday's runoff, which, according to Election Chief Kwadwo Afari-Gyan, was due to circumstances beyond the institution's control.
Now, Professor Adom-Otchere is in the lead, but as we said, the difference is such that the results of the time election could make a difference, so we have decided to run the election in time on Friday.
Mills supporters who had already been celebrating his expected narrow victory sang and danced around the commission headquarters, which was heavily guarded by police. They remained confident, pointing out that in the inconclusive December 7 first round of voting, Mills's NDC had won 10 with a majority of around 2,000.
So if we do our groundworks well, I know that we are going to win the elections in 10, and it will make us be announced as the winners of the whole election.
Some banks and shops closed, fearing violence. Presidential rivals Mills and Akufo-Addo are both foreign-trained lawyers and both are aged 64.
So, did you hear that? Did you hear that? 23,000 separated the two candidates. 23,000 separated the two. You saw the outside Electoral Commission. Farijan was inside declaring results. Now look at his composure. Look at his calmness and the confidence with which he declared the results. 23,000 separated two candidates. The incumbent party's candidate, Nana Akufo-Addo, former foreign minister, a colossal figure in Ghanaian politics. Professor J.E.A. Mills, former vice president, another colossal figure in Ghanaian politics. Both of them, you saw the results. 4, then 4, 5, 23,000 separated the two candidates. That is the kind of stature that the Electoral Commission must bring to the results. But if you start by rebranding and telling us you are rebranding and telling us you love it and being funny like that, I don't think Madam Salososai will be able to deliver this, because we could be heading for the same kind of situation on November 7th. Ghanaian politics is polarized like that. There's always a tipping point since 2000, just a few votes separate the two candidates. In 2000, President Kufuor's government won, President Kufuor's party won the parliament by 2, single 2. And then they went into the second round. So we need an electoral commissioner who is focused on delivering free, fair, and credible elections. Rebranding has nothing to do with it, let alone misunderstanding the purpose of the coat of arms. Completely misunderstanding what the coat of arms represents, thinking it represents government when in fact it represents the state. Demonstrating a misunderstanding of the difference between government and the state. Electoral commissioner. That's amazing and shocking. This is a serious matter, and I hope that our viewers also see it as seriously as we do. Because we are heading for a very major, important election. The last we need is electoral commissioner comes and says, I was rebranding and I love the logo. And logo, for God's sake, you are supposed to deliver free, fair, credible elections. Where is your voters register? What's going on? And you're talking about logos? So you saw that. That was 2008. That was outside the Electoral Commission. The crowd had besieged the Electoral Commission and they wanted a certain kind of results. And Farijan said, I'm sorry, I don't have it. For the first time in Ghana's history, we might have to run a third round of this election because only 23,000 is separating the two candidates. He was not worried about whether coat of arms is part of our logo, whether our logo is blue, is red, is nice. It is irrelevant and inconsequential to the discussion. You have to deliver free, fair, credible elections. You have to exude the confidence, as you saw Farijan exude, to be able to run these elections in this country. Otherwise, you are tipping our country over. And posterity will not forgive anyone who does that. So Nana Akufo-Addo goes to the election. He wins the first round by 100,000. He's short of 40,000. He goes to the second round. He loses by 23,000. He goes into the third round. He loses by 40,000. And this is so, in Ivory Coast, the dispute was over 250,000 and they went to war. In Kenya, the dispute was over 170,000, they went to war. In Ghana, the difference was 40,000 at the end. See how Akufo-Addo responded to a question about him losing that election painfully. 2008, the first round, you led the election. You were thought to be the front runner by many international broadcast agencies. The opinion polls put you ahead. Even by the BBC's polls, there was a question of whether you were going to win a first round or not. But you won the first round, and you led the ballot by over 100,000 votes. You were overtaken by your closest competitor, Professor Mills, who won the second round and was eventually sworn in as president. Must have been a very difficult time for you, and I want to know how you felt about it, as this is the first time we're speaking after the election.
Oh, clearly. I mean, in circumstances like that, one was bound to have felt very disappointed. I thought we'd done a lot of very good work. I think we had a good record as a government to stand on, to make our appeal to the country. But it was always going to be a close election. I mean, we never had any illusions that this election was going to be a walkover and that it was going to be close. But obviously, hoping that the closeness will be in our favor. It turned out to be the other. So clearly a lot of disappointment. But really, as far as I was concerned, the disappointment was even much more for the followers of our party and the activists of our party, that they had got so close to the third term agenda, which is what we're after, but at the last minute fell short. So on a personal level, yes, great disappointment, but my feeling was much more about the party and its supporters and its sympathizers, both in Ghana and across the world, who had been disappointed in what had happened. And I felt more strongly about them than I did about myself. I've been in politics now for nearly 35 years, and I know that it's an up and down exercise. I mean, there are times you make it, there are times you don't. So, personally, yes, I was disappointed. Clearly, I think it would be abnormal.
So you saw that the candidate loses the election, and all he says is, "I'm disappointed." 23,000 separated the two candidates. And all he says is, we're disappointed. Our supporters were disappointed. Ghana is together. The reason why he was able to say that is that Nana Akufo-Addo and his supporters were confident in 2008 that the process had been fair, it had been credible, it had been transparent, and he had delivered Professor Mills as the eventual winner. They had no qualms about it because of the stature of the Electoral Commission. So this kind of Electoral Commission, you say you are rebranding it. What are you rebranding it for? Where are you rebranding it to? I don't get it. Please help me get it, viewers. Help me to get it. This is the kind of pedigree of our Electoral Commission. Then you come, you say you are rebranding it. You take coat of arms out. I don't want to be. I'm loving it. I think that's pedestrian. That's clearly pedestrian. We expect a lot more seriousness from our Electoral Commissioner. Ghana is a serious country. We want to be taken serious because you're Electoral Commissioner. You are a public property. You belong to all of us because the decisions that you take are important for everyone. And this kind of pedestrian attitude, and I repeat, is pedestrian. You can't come and be talking about I love it and it's rebranding. Who are you rebranding? The Electoral Commission that has been so successful, that has given us a good name, you are rebranding it. Are you an Ideal Milk Key Soap? What are you do Electoral Commissions get rebranded? I don't even get it. Are you the Ghana Football Association? Are you the Ghana Table Tennis Association? Basketball, something like that? Guinness Ghana Limited? Rebranding of Electoral Commission. We have to get serious and we have to take these matters very, very seriously. Yesterday when in Lejokuku, and when I showed the documentary, you see how serious those people are. And you are sitting down rebranding. And so you had Akufo-Addo, 23,000. He said, I'm disappointed. He could have gone to war. But he didn't go to war because you saw Afarajan's calmness when he was delivering the results of the election. He said, Nana Akufo-Addo, 4 something. Professor Tamils, 4 something. For this reason, I have to go to 10 and run a third round because the candidates are separated by 23,000. 10 has more than 23,000 registered voters. So if they turn out to vote, it could still change the election. So we have to go to 10. Calmly, he got out. The crowd was out there. They were satisfied. They went to 10. The NDC won it. Mills was announced president, was sworn in as president. And the loser says, I was disappointed. That's credibility of the Electoral Commissioner. Credibility of the process. The credibility of the process. That's what we are looking for. We don't want to be rebranded and you give us a new logo. And the worst is that it's at the expense of the taxpayer. We say we don't have money for this, we don't have money for that, we don't have money for that. And the Electoral Commission finds money to do rebranding. It's a total waste of our resources. An absolute waste of resources from the Electoral Commissioner to be rebranding anything at this time, few months to November 7th. There's confusion all over the place about everything. Interior Minister says something, she contradicts it. Kofi Adam says something. It's all over the place. It's just total mishmash, hogwash of everything around the Electoral Commission. The next thing we hear, we don't have confidence in something. She's supposed to give us confidence. I'm rebranding and I'm loving the logo. You're supposed to be giving us credible elections, not loving logos and deciding what coat of arms mean and actually even getting it wrong. This is sad. We'll get back to this topic another day. But we want your views. We always don't assume that we are right. Absolutely, of course. You can send us your views. This Electoral Commission rebranding is a big matter. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll go and see what we did in Lejokuku. And so let's go for the break now.